Hey everyone, and welcome back to Eva Green Month, or shall we call it now Pale as a Ghost, because that's all the lighting does to me now. I think I'm a ghost. Today we'll be covering the movie Perfect Sense, or as I like to call it, the perfect movie to make you depressed, because this movie is extremely sad and depressing. First thing I want to get out of the way, the trailer of this movie is kind of misleading. This movie is about a romance that involves a disease that tears them apart. Whereas the trailer kind of makes it look like they're romance, and then bam, disease happens. Whereas the disease is throughout the whole movie, that's the main part, kind of, and then the romance comes into play. So, just so you know, that's not what it is. And also the DVD that I own is kind of misleading, because it has a car explosion, and Susan kind of running away from a car explosion and being all dramatically on the phone. He's like, and that's not the movie at all. It's a romance, first and foremost, and then it has the disease that kind of tears them apart and challenges the relationship. But no, this one makes it look like a full-blown kind of global contamination that they have to fight against. Whatever. Whatever. One of the highlights, or the parts that I love most about this movie, is the narration and the clips they have. So each time, at the beginning there's one big one, talking about senses, love, life, that kind of thing, and then as slowly people lose more senses, there's another one, and it's a great way to show what's going on in the world. It's a great way to kind of explain it for people who aren't very, who don't know the science behind the senses as well. And it sets up the tone with very sad, there's always sad music playing behind it, and it shows clips, but it also kind of gives a hopeful feel. And I think the main message of the movie is that life goes on. No matter what happens, I mean, to a point, by the end of it, they're so screwed it doesn't matter. But each sense they lose, life just goes on, and that's how it works, and that's just how life is. Life goes on, and it's kind of a hopeful message with that, but also at the same time, the ending is pretty sad. This one stars, obviously, Eva Green and Ewan McGregor, which I'm sure many of you guys know from Star Wars. That little unknown movie franchise. But all I know, really, I've seen Star Wars, but I don't really remember him in them. I was a lot younger, to keep that in mind. But the only other movie I've seen him in was Nanny McPhee 2, in which he has a brief cameo right at the end of the movie. So, spoilers. I guess you've never seen Nanny McPhee. But, yeah. He's in that. And so he does a very... Eva Green obviously is amazing. This is one movie you have to watch for her because her performance is great. He does a very good job too as his character. Yeah. He's just pretty great overall. You know, it's Ewan McGregor. There's no bad egg here. The supporting cast aren't as strong, not acting-wise, but they don't have enough screen time or development, so they just don't get developed and they don't really stand out. It's mostly about them, which is kind of important. So yeah, they both give great performances. Definitely one for Eva Green because she doesn't have as much work as Ewan McGregor, whereas Ewan McGregor you could probably watch. There's a lot more options out there for you to watch. I also know he does a lot of independent films. When I first watched this, I checked him out a bit more, and yeah, it seems he does a lot of independent films. So he kind of is Eva Green in a way. He'll do a big mainstream one, and then he'll do a bunch of indies, and then mainstream. And so one highlight definitely for the movie is they're all extremely developed. There's a lot of scenes that, unlike Womb, that are just kind of setup scenes, these ones have it where characters are talking to one another, or they're talking, because Susan has a sister, and she talks to her a lot about, you know, her life, and what's going on, and then it lets us expand more into her character. But it doesn't feel unnecessary, whereas Womb kind of did. In some parts, it didn't need to go there because it just slowed down the entire film. And same with Ewan McGregor's character. He gets a lot of backstory and just a lot of simple stuff. And it all feels like a very natural progression as to how they find out about each other. Very slowly, like Susan calling everyone Sailor. It makes sense because she calls him that when she first meets him. Which she drops by the end, I noticed. She stopped calling him Sailor. But that's not the point. So yeah, there's a lot of time for them to develop, and a lot of time for them to grow and seem very human, and very, very interesting and compelling. This is probably the highlight of the movie, is their relationship and how well they're performed, and how interesting their characters are. I wrote here that you'll cry, I'll cry, we'll all cry. I mean, it's never brought me to tears per se. It's just kind of made me, it's a downer movie. It just made me go, well, that happened. Now I'm kind of sad. So that's the kind of movie it is. Ewan McGregor's character, actually, Matthew, is pretty persistent to Susan. I mean, she probably needs that because she pushes people away pretty easily. I guess more or less she doesn't want to get hurt. So she's she could be considered mean, but, you know, if she is, then I am. But yeah, it's probably for the best that he was more persistent. I don't know how I'd feel about that, but, I'm not her, am I? I do find it interesting, though, throughout the movie, once senses start to disappear, these people come out of hiding like, oh, it's the apocalypse, and it is interesting commentary on humanity, that, you know, a lot of people turn to religion when things seem really down, and that things don't be going, or things don't look up. Sometimes a lot of people go back to religion, or they follow a new religion because of that, whereas other people just decide that it is what it is and move on. Either way, whatever helps you cope, it works, but yeah. The romance is very touching and genuine. It feels very cutesy, and they work off each other, and it's so adorable. It's so adorable. It's a shame they couldn't work out because they get screwed over in the end. But, I mean, if they didn't, they probably were soulmates. They seemed destined to each other. One thing I do, she plays this little game that I think is just, it's just so well worded. It's just like, tell me something people don't know about you, something secret. And that's a fun game to play with people you have relationships with. I've never posed the question personally, but yeah, I will at some point, and I'll probably say it exactly the same way. And I think it's very interesting. You could just throw that at people. It's a party game. It's like, tell me something secret. But yeah, I think that's really well worded, and I think that's a pretty cool moment between the two, and it lets the exposition happen without it feeling like exposition. Alright, let's go over the senses, and then I'll get in some more questions. And so the sense to have overwhelming sadness would be I think it'd be a lot worse. I mean, for at least Susan and Matthew, they were in a private spot, so they could let it all out very easily. And maybe, what if they didn't meet because of this extreme sadness, huh? Maybe not everything is a terrible thing. But anyway, moving on from that, but yeah, to have extreme sadness, that'd be so awkward in a work environment. Let's say if you were a cashier and you just started breaking down, that'd be pretty awkward. Since in the beginning it's very one-by-one kind of, it's one-by-one for people, and then by the end it's like everyone all at once. So that'd be pretty sucky to be the only person in your class or at work crying. The next one, this one's disgusting. So you have an extreme hunger. I wrote no thanks because I would not want that. And, so basically you eat everything, or everything and anything around you, which could include fish, bunnies, lipstick, actual food, olive oil. It's pretty gross. That seems pretty gross. A fair warning, if that stuff like that grosses you out easily, you probably want to skip by that scene, because all you're going to miss is they lose taste. And I think this disease seems pretty ironic and pretty, rude, that it's like, it just wants to take away. Actually, this all connects now I think about it, because the extreme sadness would be memories, and scent is linked mostly to memories, because you know smell of your grandmother's. I think the movie used cinnamon for cookies, you always remember that. So that makes sense, and then food, it's kind of like, you're not going to be able to taste anything anymore, so eat everything you can. Seems a little rude, seems a little ironic. And extreme anger. Now I want to say, acting and for actors, extreme anger is so fun to play. It's a great way to release any anger and tension, frustration you have at any given moment, and just yell and just let it all out. So I'm sure the scene was very, very fun for them to film. I know for the small stuff I've done, whenever I have an anger scene, it's my favorite because it's just so fun to release all that anger, and it's very therapeutic as well, because sometimes it's anger you don't want to leave on or keep in yourself, so you just let it all out, that kind of thing. So yeah, it would be pretty fun, a scene to do, but yeah, it wouldn't be great. And the final one the movie shows before everyone's basically screwed over is that you have an extreme passion or extreme love. You feel extreme love and comfort and joy before you lose sight, and that's mean. But I mean, again, is this disease being ironic? It's like, oh, you love this person? Well, you're never going to see them again. Out of all of them, the one I probably wouldn't mind losing smell or taste. I mean, I would prefer not to lose taste, but of the two, I probably wouldn't mind losing smell. I mean, yes, it's linked to memories, but and at the same time, some stuff tastes really gross, but you have to eat it, so maybe it wouldn't be that bad. But you still feel the texture. I'd probably want to lose taste or smell. Hearing and eyesight, I'm okay with. I would like to keep them. I'd like to keep one of them at least. Oh yeah, like in the movie, to go back to the theme of hope that life goes on, one of the characters is like, oh, the smell, it has its benefits, because believe me, there's some stuff, it would work for cops, you know, they don't have to smell the bodies anymore. I mean, sure, they have to see them, but skipping the gross, the smelly part would be, I'm sure would be nice. Now, it's interesting in the movie because Ewan McGregor's character, oh, there are two things. One, Susan tells him that she's infertile, so by default she kind of, sometimes she hates her sister's children, which makes sense if, for people in that situation, to see someone else be so happy with kids or something you've always wanted, but you could never have. But Ewan McGregor is pretty like, I think one of his girlfriends, or sorry, his fiancée-to-be got sick, very, very sick, and he just kind of abandoned her and left. No, this would raise, I think, a red flag or two for me. I'd be, well, I mean, I guess it depends on the situation. It always does, I suppose, but that'd be, I want to get more backstory on that, because you don't want someone who's done that before do that to you later in life. And I mean, they both had a disease now. I mean, maybe that's why he has it as well, but he doesn't abandon her, which is good. I guess he's learning. Maybe it wasn't meant to be, but I would definitely ask more questions than Susan actually does in the movie. You're dating someone who might just abandon you when you're sick, and I know that it's a strain on people, and it's situational, but I would be a bit iffy about that. Very iffy indeed. The extreme anger one, for him and her, that one's really, really bad, because it lets out all of his kind of negative energy that he has. Oh, not good. Not good. I mean, I'm sure she understands that he's under the disease's influence, but at the same time, it's still pretty hurtful, and there's no telling if it's true or not, or deep down it's true, and, like, he says harsh, harsh things. He basically calls her, basically, just a pile of meat that eats and has sex. That's it. Not very nice. Not what you want to hear from someone you are in love with. They actually never say I love you in the movie. Interesting. They show it a lot through their actions, but they never say I love you. I also find it interesting because in the movie, once they have the bout of anger, they lose their hearing. And so usually in films, they just have the character lose hearing. But this director, whomever's decision it was, made it so the whole movie became silent. And I thought it was a very interesting and very well done mechanic. I don't know if it would work in every movie, and it's about, I think, 10 to 20 minutes of them being silent. So I think it works really well, and I think it adds to it, and it definitely helps push us or get us more engrossed and make us feel like we're in the movie. So good on them. It doesn't always work, but I'm glad it worked this time because it adds a lot of atmosphere to the movie. Also, when they lose their eyesight at the very end of the movie, that's the final one. The movie goes black, and then it's this narration, and the movie done. It's like, oh, they caress each other. If anyone could see it, they look like lovers. The end. Hope you enjoyed our movie. Do you feel happy? Nope. Well, goodbye. Oh yeah, and the fact at the end of the movie that they almost don't see each other because they can't hear one another, that would have been so sad, because surely they lose their eyesight, and they'd never see each other again. That's really sad. Like I said, it's a very downer movie. It's a hard movie to sit through if you don't like this type of film. If you don't like a movie where it sets out more or less to make you depressed, then this is probably a movie you don't want to watch. But if you enjoy a good drama, well-written characters, and well-acted, then I don't see why you wouldn't want to watch this movie. I do very much watch it. I mean, I do very much like it, however. I couldn't watch it all the time, but it's so well written and it's so engrossing that it's definitely a movie I can watch at least once a year. I've seen it twice this year. That's why I was a little hesitant about watching it again, because I watched it early January and I was depressed, and then I watched it now, and I was depressed yesterday after watching it. Because it's a very downer movie, but I think, again, it does have a very hopeful feel. It's very much that life will continue on. No matter what happens, life continues on. And it might get worse, it might get better. Who knows? You just have to keep fighting and keep moving on. This is definitely 100% an Eva Green film. It should be included in every marathon that you have of her. And if you're a fan of hers, you've probably already watched it, but if you're not sure about this one, definitely watch it. For sure. It does make me wonder, though, what do you think the perfect sense is? Is it love? I think it's love. I think that's what they're getting at. I think for sure that the perfect sense is love. I could be wrong. That kind of seems to be the message, but let me let me know what you guys think, if what the perfect sense would be. Out of all the senses that you could lose and the way of losing them, which one would you choose on purpose, or which one would you say you couldn't deal with it? I would still pick either taste or smell to lose. Eyesight, I would not want to lose at all. Because I love movies and games so much so that I can watch them and read subtitles, so I don't have to hear them, but I would prefer not to lose any of those two, but more so eyesight. Also, if Ewan McGregor's character told you that he left someone who was sick and dying, his fiancée, no less, what would you do? Would you stay with him? Would you ask more questions? Or, yeah, what would you do in that situation? I'm not sure myself. I'd probably ask a lot more questions. But I also know at the same time it is situational, and a lot of people can't deal with extreme sickness or seeing someone they love being that sick. But, you know, it's not great, especially not to do to your fiancé. So I hope you enjoyed my review and discussion of the film Perfect Sense. I hope you come back for more Eva Green Month, and I hope you have a wonderful day. For now, and next time, we'll be going with A Dark Shadows, the first Eva Green film I ever saw, and her only comedy. Oh, I guess you could say Miss Peregrine, but I don't know if that's really a comedy. Well, I hope you enjoyed anyway. Goodbye for now.